Hello, welcome or welcome back. I'm Tally, and today we're going to go through the 13 books I read in March. So I had another great reading month. I seem to just be doing quite well this year. I'm nervous, but yes, so let's go through them. I usually do them in rating order, don't I? And I didn't list them out. Hold on a minute. Luckily I have Storygraph stats, so just give me a minute. So I did have a 2-star read this month, and that was the Ayakasha Hunter's Tainted Bride of Volume 1. I do have my thoughts of this one and a more kind of in-depth review on my most recent Project 80% episode, so I'll link that here. This one, the artwork was great, but unfortunately the like characterization just didn't really work for me, so I just don't really have an interest in picking up any more volumes in this. It is a popular webtoon series, so I believe if you're intrigued you could check it out on Webtoons and obviously go a lot further than the volume 1 that is currently physically out. Yeah, just wasn't for me. Good artwork. Not every manga is for me. Then I had a 3-star read this month, and that was Bonded by Fawn by Elizabeth Helen, and this is the first in the Beasts of the Briar series. This is very loosely a Beauty and the Beast retelling, which is one of my favourite retellings to read in a romantasy sense. And it was fun. It was very Wattpad, and I don't mean that in a negative way. It was just quite, the main character was your name, you know, like she had nothing about her kind of character wise. She was meant to be a very blank slate so that anyone reading can kind of put themselves in her position, and we follow this young human, probably going to find out later that she's not, what is her name, Rosalina, but she goes by Rose, and she is like the outcast in her town in a very Belle-esque way. She works in her local bookstore. Her dad is an outcast because her mum went missing years prior, and her dad said that she was stolen by Fae, and so obviously everyone in town thinks he's crazy, and her by extension. She has a kind of disgusting abusive relationship with a guy in the town, our Gaston of the piece, and she ends up going through a veil into a Fae realm. She stumbles across a castle which is inhabited by a Fae lord of each seasonal court, and they have been sort of 4 Fae princes, and they have been cursed in that they turn into beasts at night, and they will remain cursed until they find their mate. And she makes an agreement with them that she will help them find their mates, and then she can go free, basically. I mean, we all know where it's going. It's a why choose, and the princes also are intimate with one another, which I think is something that is often missing in these kind of stories, and I need more of that, please. But yeah, you know, the story was entertaining, but it was a very your name, the situations were very contrived. It just didn't work for me. It was fun. That's the thing though, it was fun. So I was going to continue, but actually I DNF'd the second book at about 65% because I just kind of had enough. I thought it would just be like a fun series, but it got on my nerves a little bit too much. But yeah, I can understand why people enjoy it. I imagine that the series probably just gets better and better. I do think that, I don't know, it was, if it sounds like something you'd enjoy, then obviously give it a try. A 3.75 book for me was Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. This is the first in the Magnolia Parks series. It's a romance, but a very toxic romance. And we follow Magnolia Parks, who is like a wealthy socialite in London, and she has lots of wealthy friends in London, and they're teenagers. Obviously, their parents are very uninvolved, so that they're in a position that they can go out and get drunk and do drugs and I don't know, whatever happens in these kind of stories. Like, I enjoy the shows like this, and this has been comped to Gossip Girl. And in terms of wealthy young people just being able to do whatever the hell they want, is very much Gossip Girl. The thing that people comp it to Gossip Girl for, this doesn't actually have, so I think that that's incorrect. So in here, Magnolia is a socialite who is often reported on in the tabloids, and she has a very on again off again relationship with BJ, and that is very much discussed in the tabloids. And they're like a couple that's kind of meant to be together, and they both like see it in the stars, but they're always just fucking each other over because they can. So some people make the connection of the tabloids talking about her to the actual Gossip Girl entity in Gossip Girl, which is incorrect. That is not. But in terms of wealthy young people having very little repercussions and having such little issues in their life or such little strife, that they make their own drama, and it's kind of catnipy. Like, I really loved it, and I really want to read the second book. I wanted to test it, so I just picked up this one because it was cheap. But now I know that I quite enjoyed it, and I want to read the rest of the series. I will be buying with the indie covers because they're so much better than these. Although these are actually from a photo shoot that the author did for a shoe brand, so they're pretty on theme. But I just love the other covers. If you compare the two, I just think that they've got more fun to them. This is very messy and kind of unputdownable for me anyway. I had 2 4-stars in the month of March. So I had Fan Service by Rosie Dannon, and this again is one that I give more in-depth thoughts of in my episode 2 of Project 80%, because I had this as an arc. But basically we follow 2 characters. We follow Devin, who is a celebrity, an actor. He played a werewolf in a supernatural TV show, and that show has finished, and he's been struggling to find a career or a purpose ever since. So he's just always trying to get a reboot or a movie made. And Alex is the show's like biggest fan. She has the blog post, which is like the be all and end all. She's like an expert on the show. She met Devin at a Comic-Con when she was younger, and she overheard him being a little bit mean about her. So she's always hated him as an actor, but she loves the show. Like, the show is everything to her. And now that now they're adults, it's like 7 years later or something, and one night Devin wakes up near his Los Angeles home naked, no memory, and he realizes that he has turned into a werewolf, and he's basically following what happened to his character on the TV show. So he's trying to find a way to control it and stop it, and he comes across the blog that Alex used to run, and he emails her and gets in touch, and she agrees to meet, assuming that it's not actually him. Like, she obviously doesn't believe it's actually the actor, and he turns up and he explains, and he's like, I need you to help me because you're the expert in this type of werewolf. And she's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And then he agrees to pay her a lot of money that she can't turn down. Eventually friendship blossoms, and then eventually it becomes something more. And I really enjoyed this in the end. I went into it thinking it was just going to be like smutty and silly, and whilst it was that, it was also really, really emotional, which I really loved. And then the other 4-star I had was a manga called My Love Mix Up, and this was volume 1. This was really fun. So I picked this up on a whim along with volume 1 of Blue Flag, and I just picked them up from my library on a whim. They were both volume 1s, and I thought I'll give them a try, and they both had almost the exact same storyline, which was really crazy. So we follow these 3 school children, teenagers, who end up in a bit of a love triangle kind of, but not really, because there's some mix up and trying to like cover for one another. And there's a queer, like one of the corners of the love triangle is queer, and it's just really, I don't know, it was just really fun. It was really fun, and it was just really entertaining, and I really fell for the characters. They were so likable, and I was very excited to see what happens next. So I have actually picked up a volume 2 since this, but yeah, I really enjoyed this. The artwork was really cute, and it was just really like fluffy, fun filled, and what's not to love about that. Next is Witchcraft for Wayward Children by Grady Hendrix. I gave this a 4.25. I actually have this gorgeous edition. I have the standard edition, which I was gifted for my birthday last month, and I was very excited about it in February. And then I also managed to pick up this copy because I like the book so much. I thought I'm going to get one of these other copies. Managed to get this one. This was a Black Crow one, and it's got like the book there as well. I love it. So this is set in the 70s, and we follow a young girl who is given the name Flora, like Fern. She is given the name Fern. She's 15, and she's sent to a Wellwood house in Florida where unwed mothers, particularly those that are teenagers, are sent, and then their parents come up with things they're doing, like they go doing courses or training or visiting relatives or whatever, and then they come back without the children, without the babies, and they're just meant to continue their lives after. And this is very much based on real homes that existed in the 70s. And in this particular one, all the girls are renamed when they enter, and they're given names of different plants or flowers. So we have Fern. They are given by a like traveling library that comes, like a mobile library that comes to the school. They're given a book by the librarian, and it turns out to be a spell book, and they try some of them and they work quite well, and they think this is great, and they agree to make a coven. And then they discover the toll you pay for witchcraft, and this book is very gory. It doesn't hold back when it comes to things about childbirth, and it's so heart-wrenching when the babies are taken, because not all of the girls that are sent here want to give up their babies for adoption. They don't actually have a choice. They're unwed, and their parents have consented for their children to be taken away. So yeah, it's really hard reading at some points, but Grady Hendrix always manages to have a touch of levity to these things and bring a touch of comedy into it, which I think just is his style of writing, and it works really well in this. And I really loved this, and I can understand why for some people it doesn't work, but for me it definitely does. And this is going to be one I will reread definitely in the future. My 4.5 for the month is Blue Flag, which I mentioned earlier when I discussed my love mix-up. So this is the first volume in this manga series, and it has a very similar storyline, but I just found the characters that bit more, not likable, but I just connected to them a little bit more than I did with the characters in my love mix-up. Again, the artwork is really good on this as well, and I just really like the direction that this manga is taking, and I just think it's so fun and heartfelt, and the characters just, they do it for me. They just, I feel for them. I feel for them. And then I have one 4.75 for this month, and it's Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. And this is the first in the Children of Time series. So this is a sci-fi series, and we follow the end of the world as we know it. Basically, it's told in multiple timeline, not multiple timelines. It's told in like different time. It like jumps through time, and we effectively follow this planet that is chosen to be the next home for humanity, for humans, and it gets terraformed in a certain way, and we dip in over like thousands of years watching as that happens, and how the dominant species on that planet, how they evolve, etc. And they don't evolve into like apes as we did. They are like spiders and other kind of creepy crawlies. And then we also jump to the humans that are now basically just living in spaceships because we don't have an Earth anymore, and they're waiting for this planet to be ready to terraform. So we jump through and see that and alternate times, and it's just, oh, it really makes you think about what humanity is and what we do to one another, and what, yeah, just how we don't look after what we have. If we'd looked after our earth, we wouldn't have needed to do this and those kind of things. And I oh, I really love this. This is the first Spiders author I've read. I have a lot of his books on my shelves because I knew deep down I would love them. And yeah, I'm liking this one. So I'm liking this. I love this. And I'm really excited for the second book in this series. And this one is just so good at making you think about what the hell humanity even is, and like what we want to be remembered for. Yeah. And then finally, let's get to some 5 stars. I actually had 5 stars this month. So let's start with Songs for Ghosts by Clara Kamagi. This is a retelling, or like a book that's inspired by Puccini's Madame Butterfly. We follow Adam, who is a Japanese American boy who has grown up not really knowing much about his Japanese heritage. His mum, who was the Japanese part of Japanese American, passed when he was about 2, and he's grown up in America with his dad and his dad's new wife, and they've recently had a child. And Adam, like, physically doesn't look as though he matches the family. He is queer, and he's recently had a really like heart-wrenching breakup from his boyfriend, and he's just kind of floundering, and he's at this age where he has to decide what he's going to do with the rest of his life, what college he's going to go to, if he's going to go to college, if he's going to continue to study music. There's just so much for him that he needs to think about and decide. And amongst this like issue, all of these issues for him, he comes across a diary in the attic, and it tells the story of this, well, it's like the diary of this woman from the, I think it's the 1800s. She was a Japanese woman who ends up marrying an American man. I assume that's the Madame Butterfly part of it. I haven't actually seen Madame Butterfly. And Adam gets really involved, like really emotionally involved in it, and he wants to return the diary to the relatives of the woman who wrote it. And by happenstance, he gets a homestay in Japan through his Japanese school, and he ends up in the town where this woman actually was from, and it also turns out to be the town that Adam's family was from. So he has the opportunity to learn more about himself whilst investigating this, and it's just, it's so emotionally driven. And there's also a ghost element because this takes place during the festival of ghosts. I can't remember what it's called, but when people feed their previous generations, and sort of a remembrance of them. And this was just so good. Clara has such a beautiful way with words, and she really weaves the American and Japanese experience into her stories so well, along with different Japanese folk or mythology. And this is the second book by her. I love it. Catfish Rolling was the first one. I loved that. They were both easy 5 stars for me, and I just think that what she's writing is so good and so emotionally damaging in a good way, and haunting and beautiful. And yeah, pick this up, please. Next we have Dragon Fruit by Marquis Lucia, or Mackay Lucia, I think it might be. I hate how shiny this is because it's really hard to hold up. We follow a young woman, Hunterlee, who when she was younger she had to leave. Well, her father fled and took her with him. They left their home island due to the fact that in this world there are water dragons, and these dragons very rarely lay eggs, and when they do, if you consume the egg, you get a wish. And so when she was younger, the queen of the island was sick. Her people managed to get hold of 3 dragon eggs, and they were going to wish to fix her. And 2 of the eggs get damaged on the way to the palace, and the final egg Hunterlee's father steals and uses to help Hunterlee, because Hunterlee was the queen's handmaiden, and she got the same illness. And because they've obviously carried out this form of treason, he has to flee the island, and he takes Hunterlee with him. And now this is years later, and she works for a university researching water dragons, sea dragons, and she ends up making her way back to the island, her home island, and she reconnects with the prince, who was her best friend when they were children. And he is still trying to find a dragon egg. His mum is in a suspended state because she's sick, and they rekindle their friendship. Hunterlee teaches people more about the dragons than they knew before, and they just learn more about the magic of the island, and it's just really fun. And the dragon stuff is really fun. I loved that. I love anything to do dragons, and I love anything to do dragons in a different way than we often see. And I just think the magic in this was really interesting. And if you are looking to pick up a book this month for AAPI, this would be a really good one to add to your list. It's a YA, and it's such a fast, fun read. And if you can get hold of the audiobook's really good as well. Listen to Your Sister by Nina Vale is a debut horror, and this is so interesting. I have my full thoughts on it on a episode of Project 80%, because I read this as an arc through NetGalley. And this follows Carla, who has become both her parents have passed, and she's become the guardian for her younger brother Jamie, who is 16. Carla is about 23, and she also has another brother, Dre, who is around 20. And she ends up being the sole guardian for Jamie, and it really puts her life on hold, and she has to make a lot of sacrifices to be able to do it. And Jamie is a 16-year-old black boy who just literally doesn't care, and he's always getting in trouble, and he doesn't really appreciate what she does because he's a teenager. And for as long as she can remember, Carla has had nightmares of Jamie dying, and they've been graphic and horrible. And so she's always been really scared of him leaving the house and what could happen to him. And then one day he is present at a protest, and a bomb explodes, and it kills a police officer, if I remember correctly. And so because he's near it at the time, he gets implicated in it. So the 3 of them, the siblings, go on the run to try and keep Jamie safe from the police, and they don't really properly think through what they're doing. and Carla's nightmares start getting worse, and then Dre's starts also had taken on a starring role in her nightmares, and they find this log cabin to stay at, like an Airbnb, and things just get so much worse. And I want to say what it is, but I also feel like you need to go into the book and discover it for yourself, because it is just batshit crazy, and it's gory and gross, and it's just, if you are an older sister particularly, I think this could hit home. And I just, I can't wait to see what else this author does, because this is a debut and it was a 5-star read for me, so I'm very excited to see what comes next. I read Welcome to the Hanongdong Bookshop by Huan Bo Ram. I've probably mispronounced a lot of that. I apologise. This is a Korean translated book, and it's it's just really, really, So this follows a young woman who opens up her own bookshop, and it follows the lives of the people who go to her bookshop, her employees, some of the authors that like visit the bookshop, etc. And it's very kind of Korean slice of life in what you expect, like the kind of comfort in slice of life books to be, but it really, really makes you question so much about our work ethic and our work expectations, and how our lives revolve around working, and we put so much stock in our jobs, and it gets in the way of us having any kind of creative output or any hobbies or any, it really, the capitalization of our society really stops us being in a position to just like experience life, because we just constantly concerned about our job and how to pay for things, etc., and we don't often have the opportunity to just take a moment to just stop. And this is a big commentary on that, and it is based on Korean work culture, which is obviously quite different to what I live through in the UK, but it still has those same questions and those same thought points for us to consider. And it was just a really, really good book. I listened to it as an audio, and it really just made me like stop and just think sometimes, and it made me take a moment to just not feel like I had to be productive, which is hard. It's a hard mindset to get out of. So yeah, definitely pick this up if you haven't already. I genuinely feel like it's changed my outlook on life, and that just feels crazy to say, but it did. And then my final book for the month that I'm going to talk about is The Final Strife by Sarah Al Arifi. And this is the first in the Ending Fire trilogy. It's a fantasy trilogy that I'm so excited I finally got to. I don't know how I left it so long. This follows a world. It's really hard. Let me just read the back because I find this quite hard to explain. So the Empire rules by blood. Red is the blood of the elite of magic of control. They are the embers. Blue is the blood of the poor, of workers, of resistance. They are the dusters. Clear is the blood of the servants, of the crushed, of the invisible. They are the ghostins. Is that rule about to come to an end? So in this society, the embers are like top of the top, and 12 babies, red-blooded babies, were kidnapped in the middle of the night, like 20 years prior to the start of this book, and replaced with blue blood babies. And then those red blood babies that were kidnapped were raised by blue blood families, in the hopes that when they are older and they step into their roles in a red-blooded society, they will have a blue-blooded mindset and be able to start bringing in changes to make the world fairer. And then we have the ghostlings, which are the clear bloods, and they are like the lowest servants. They are maimed at birth. They have their hands removed, they have their tongues removed, and they are completely ignored by society. And we follow one of each blood and how their lives kind of interconnect, and basically the start of the final strife, which is the taking down of this corrupt government. And it is so good. It is so good, and I cannot wait to pick up the second book. And this is so good. Oh my god, I just yes, it's a completed trilogy as well. So there we have it. They are the 13 books I read in March. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these, or if you have any of these on your TBR. If you want to say hi but don't have anything to say, put a dragon emoji. Make sure to give this video a like. Consider subscribing so you can keep up to date on all of my upcoming videos. And thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you soon. Bye friends.